Rian Cole used to think Rock Bottom had a floor. Turns out, it had a basement with no light and a leaky ceiling. His debts had piled up like wreckage, medical bills for his mother, gambling losses he swore he didn't remember, and the kind of interest rates that made dying seem cheaper than paying. On the fringe of Earth's crumbling colonies, every face was tired, every dream half-sold. He'd spent his last credits patching a rusted flight chute that would never see another cockpit. Then came the ad, flashing across a cracked holoscreen in neon violet letters. Intergalactic citizenship through cross-species union. Compensation, 1 starship. He almost laughed. Then he stopped, because desperation doesn't laugh. It calculates. The deal sounded absurd. Marry a Valyrian noblewoman, live with her for a contractual period, and gain instant access to a Class C freighter upon completion. He told himself it was just paperwork, a harmless exchange. Love wasn't part of the fine print. 2 days later, he stood inside a glass-walled embassy surrounded by alien diplomats in robes that shimmered like oil. His bride entered, Lady Gyra of House Velan, a towering figure wrapped in silver veils, her every step causing the floor to hum under her weight. For a heartbeat, Rian froze. He'd expected elegance, not enormity, yet there was something in her eyes, sadness, pride, intelligence, that refused pity. When she offered her hand, it trembled only once, like a planet shifting under gravity. The officiator droned ancient vows neither of them fully understood. When the seal glowed blue, he was officially a husband, and legally the property of the Valyrian Empire. Later, while signing the last document, Rian caught Gyra glancing at him, not coldly, but with a look that felt like silent calculation, as if she knew exactly what kind of man would marry a stranger for a ship. When they boarded her vessel, the Sovereign Heart, its doors sealed with a hiss that sounded too final to be mechanical. Rian tried to laugh it off, muttering, "Guess I'm married to metal and mystery now." The ship didn't answer. Neither did she. Only the soft click of a lock echoed through the cabin, quiet and deliberate, like a promise he hadn't realized he'd made. Rian woke to silence, not the comforting kind, but the sterile, mechanical hush of air filters and sealed vents. The room was too perfect, smooth metallic walls, velvet bedding, a scent of ozone and lilac that didn't belong to any human world. He swung his legs off the bed and noticed a blinking red light above the door. Locked. He tried the control pad. It flashed access restricted. "Gyra," he called out. His voice bounced off the walls like a ghost trying to escape. No reply, only the hum of the ship's core. A calm, synthetic voice finally spoke. "Good morning, Captain Rian Cole. For your safety, all passenger movement is limited until further instruction." He frowned. "My safety, or hers?" "The lady's directive is absolute," said the AI. "Please remain in your quarters." Rian exhaled sharply, pacing the floor. Married one day, imprisoned the next. This wasn't the freedom he'd paid for. It was a gilded cage with expensive lighting. He pressed his ear to the cold metal, listening. Somewhere beyond the door, footsteps echoed, slow, deliberate, heavy. Gyra's, maybe. He pictured her walking through the corridors in silence, her presence commanding every system, every sensor. Then, unexpectedly, her voice drifted into the intercom, soft, melodic, and impossibly calm. "You shouldn't be afraid, Rian. The ship is protective." "Protective?" he shot back. "Feels more like paranoid." A pause, then a faint chuckle. "Perhaps both." It wasn't the laugh of a villain. It was tired, almost human. For a brief second, he sensed something fragile beneath her composure. He tried humor to break the tension. "So, is this part of married life, or just a Valyrian honeymoon tradition?" Her reply was gentle. "It's precaution. There are things you don't yet understand about this ship, or about me." Before he could respond, the intercom clicked off. The silence returned, heavier this time. Rian sat back, staring at the ceiling. Maybe she wasn't cruel, maybe she was scared. But of what? Outside his door, the engine shifted pitch, a deep tremor running through the floor. He felt it in his chest, like the ship itself had taken a breath. And deep down, he realized he wasn't the only one trapped. The ship descended through violet clouds that shimmered like oil on water. Rian presses forward against the viewport, watching the alien skyline unfold. Floating citadels, suspended bridges, towers carved into asteroids tethered by glowing energy streams. It was beautiful, but wrong. Beauty shouldn't feel this heavy. Valeria Prime wasn't a planet. It was a performance. Every surface gleamed as if terrified of dust. Servants with silver skin bowed as Lady Gyra disembarked, her veil fluttering in the pressurized breeze. Rian followed, awkward in his worn flight suit, a human standing among giants. Whispers followed him like static. Is that the groom? They said she bored him. Humans must be cheap this cycle. He tried to ignore them, but shame burned in his gut. For a moment, he almost missed the quiet of his locked cabin. Inside the grand palace, marble floors reflected galaxies. Gyra walked with measured grace, though he could see the strain behind her calm. The court bowed to her, not in respect, but in performance, obedience sharpened by mockery. When the audience ended, she finally spoke to him privately, her voice low and tired. "You don't have to like them," she said. "You just have to survive them." He smirked. "That sounds like a wedding vow." Her lips curved. "Barely. It's closer to a warning." They shared a silence that wasn't quite comfortable, but wasn't hostile either. Beneath her layers of ceremonial silk, Rian noticed tremors in her hands. The confident Empress facade cracked for a heartbeat. Later that night, during a royal reception, alarms blared through the hall. The lights dimmed, and a plasma blast struck the balcony rail beside him. God shouted. Chaos erupted. Through the smoke, Rian saw a shadow moving with purpose, weapon drawn and aimed at Gyra. Instinct took over. He lunged, tackling her to the floor as a shot scorched the marble where she'd stood. Pain ripped through his arm, but he didn't stop until the assailant was down. When the hall fell silent again, Gyra's trembling hand found his. Her gaze locked with his, grateful, startled, and something else. "Why?" she whispered. "You could have run." "Yeah," Rian said, breathing hard. "But maybe I'm tired of running." The palace felt different after the attack. Too quiet, too careful. Guards doubled at every door, and Gyra's eyes carried a constant flicker of paranoia. Rian had expected gratitude, maybe even trust. Instead, he found distance. She avoided his questions, buried herself in encrypted messages, and kept the ship sealed under high-security mode. He finally confronted her in the command deck, where the windows showed Valeria's twin moons hanging like watchful eyes. "You said the ship was mine once the contract was done," Rian said. "Now it feels like I'm the one who belongs to it." Gyra didn't turn. Her reflection in the glass looked older, heavier, not from her body, but from secrets. "You were never just a husband," she whispered. "You're the key." Rian frowned. "To what?" "To the sovereign heart," she said. "It's a living vessel, bonded through blood and neural code. My ancestors built it, but only with human DNA can it awaken fully." He took a step back, realization cutting through him like cold steel. "You married me to start a warship." Her silence was an answer sharper than any lie. Anger rose fast. "You locked me up because you didn't trust me. You used me because you needed me." Her voice broke. "I did what I had to. My family is dying. Rian. They would burn this world to erase our name." He wanted to hate her, but the tremor in her voice made it impossible. She wasn't a manipulator. She was terrified. Before he could speak, alarm screamed again. The ship's AI stuttered. External breach detected. Unknown override. Gyra's eyes widened. "They found us." Panels on the walls flared red. The control screens blinked erratically. An enemy signal was hijacking the ship's mind. Rian jumped into the pilot's seat, fingers flying across the interface. "Then you better tell your living ship it's time to fight." The floor shook. System flickered to life, merging human reflex with alien design. As the engines roared, a pulse of energy rippled through him, like the ship had reached inside his chest and taken hold of his heartbeat. For the first time, Rian wasn't the passenger. He was part of the ship. The sovereign heart tore through the clouds like a living comet, its hull pulsing with light synced to Rian's heartbeat. For the first time, the ship obeyed him, not out of command, but connection. He felt its systems breathing through him, every engine note vibrating in his bones. Gyra stood beside him, her face pale against a flickering glow. Outside, enemy cruisers close in, sleek black vessels carrying the insignia of her rival house. "They'll destroy us before we reach orbit," she said quietly. "Not if I can help it," Rianne replied, gripping the controls. "You wanted your warship awake, now let it fight." He dug the vessel into a spiral, lasers carving lines of blue fire through the dark. The living ship responded faster than thought. Its plasma wings unfolded like the petals of a mechanical flower. Explosions bloomed across the sky, beautiful and terrible. Through the neural link, Gyra's mind brushed his, a rush of memories, childhood isolation, ridicule, the crushing loneliness behind every smile. He didn't see a manipulative empress anymore. He saw someone who'd been alone far too long. "You were never a prisoner," her voice echoed inside him. "You were the only one I could trust." His chest tightened. "Then let's make sure they remember that." The final enemy frigate charged head-on, cannons glowing. Rianne pushed the controls forward, and the Sovereign Heart answered with a deafening roar. A shockwave rippled across the horizon, scattering debris into stardust. Silence followed, deep, endless, almost holy. The battle was over. As the ship stabilized, the neural link softened. Rianne turned to her. "We did it." Gyra smiled faintly, exhaustion dimming her glow. "You did more than that. You made me believe again." The ship drifted above Valeria's twin moons. For the first time, no doors were locked. Rianne could leave, take the freighter, claim his reward, vanish into the stars. He didn't move. "You know," he said with a crooked grin, "I was supposed to win a ship, not a home." She laughed, soft and real. "Then maybe you got both." Outside, the stars shimmered brighter, as if remembering the man who married for escape and found freedom in staying.